For the first few rounds of the season, the Washington, D.C. region SCCA iRacing League took on TCRs and the Global MX5 Cup car at a couple road courses across the country. But tonight we head into the next round of the season, and no more MX5s, no more TCR. Tonight, Finian, we take on GT3 and Porsche Cup machinery in some multi-class action at the superhighway of speed in Wisconsin at Elkhart Lake, Road America. This is a 4-mile racetrack, 14 corners around here, Finian. This is a fast racetrack for some running tonight.
Yeah, it is a fast race. It's also a pretty long racetrack as well. 4 miles, 7 kilometers in length. And the lap times around here take about 2 minutes, which is pretty long, especially in comparison to most other American road courses. So it takes quite a while for these guys to get around. So it's only going to be lap-wise probably 30 laps, a little bit less than that, considering the lap times these guys are running. So interested in seeing how this race is going to be played out, and also a lot of on-throttle time.
A lot of on-throttle time. 60-minute race tonight, so as you said, should be about 25 to 30 laps, give or take a few. We're also joined tonight by Larry Lefty McLeod, and Larry, you've seen a couple of races so far this season with some slower cars, but the faster cars is going to be a little bit of a learning curve tonight. How do you think this is going to go, and can you be too aggressive at the start of this thing?
Oh, I'm so excited for tonight. I do love these cars. I think finally see some speed on the cars in a speedy track. Yeah, I think you can be aggressive at the start. The problem is that these cars wear tires very quickly. A lot of these drivers are in the AMG GT3 Mercedes that are running in that group. A couple of BMWs and a Ferrari in there as well. But the Mercedes eats tires. So they've got to be careful if you're too aggressive at the start. This is a long race. You don't want to be stopping every 10 laps for tires. I think they'd like to do this on one stop if they can. But this place is amazing with these fast cars.
Yeah, so as we head into tonight, Larry, I want you to take us through a lap here at Road America. Again, a 4-mile racetrack, 14 corners. Walk us through what a lap at Road America looks like.
Sure, as you come down into the first turn, it's extremely fast, probably about 100-mile-an-hour right-hander, down a short hill, short straight into what essentially is turn 3. It's a right-hander, a little tighter. Again, it's off camber as you go through 3, but the exit is key because that middle straightaway is extremely important here. You've got a lot of drafting that can happen. It leads you down the hill into turn 5. You'll make a tight left. That's a place where a lot of incidents can happen because there's a exit on the right side of the track you can use. But you know, it's a tight corner for a lot of drivers. You come out of that, you go under the classic Corvette bridge, make another left. There's a kink right down the short straight into another left, and that gets you all the way down the end to where the carousel is. Big, long, losing camber right-hand carousel sweeper, signature corner of this track, down another short straight and around the kink, which in these cars is essentially flat out or nearly flat out through that kink, down through the canyon of walls, all the way down to what they call Canada Corner, which is an extremely tight right-hander at the end of that long back straight, the lowest point of the track. And as you make that right-hander, you then make a little S-curve, start climbing back up the hill through 13, and then you hit corner 14, which is probably the single most critical corner exit, because not only is the front straight long, the front straight is uphill for the first 3 quarters of it. Really critical to get an exit there and finish a very fast lap.
Absolutely, and the average speeds around here, Finian, they're incredibly fast as well. Thanks, Larry. 114 miles an hour plus for the GT3 car's average speed over the course lap. They'll be doing well over 150 at the end of the front straightaway as well. Qualifying is complete. Your class winners, or for your class pole sitters rather, Greg Obadia in the 66 and Ken Alseal in the 23 leading the Porsche Cup category. And Finian, the differences in these cars, pretty severe. The GT3 cars have a lot of driver aids, anti-lock braking systems, they've got traction control. The Porsche Cup car is a beast to drive around here. No anti-lock brakes. It is crazy to drive around. It also, it's really long braking zones as well, which means it's a challenging car to drive and doesn't have near the amount of downforce that the GT3 cars have.
Yeah, that's, I think, really where we're going to see the GT3s thrive through some of these corners in comparison to the Porsche Cup cars. The time difference, not huge. It's about looking at 6 seconds, which over the course of 2 minutes isn't that crazy, but it's still decently there. So, especially the back end of the traffic is going to be interesting seeing the leaders work through that.
So another thing to consider tonight, Larry, is that we've got live race control for the first time this season. Do you think that's going to affect decision-making here, not only at the start of the race, but later in the race when it becomes more apparent that a pass needs to happen?
It could, especially you get late in the race, you start accumulating those off courses and those incidents. If you start reaching that limit where a penalty might get assessed, you got to really watch track limits. There's a couple of spots around this place where you can put a tire off and it it might be a bit of an advantage. You've got to be really careful as the race goes on to kind of save those for when you need them if you really want to stay on someone's tail and make a pass.
So the Porsche Cup cars, we already talked about them. They'll be starting at the tail of the grid. There's Calvin Wong in the number 100, currently 8th on the board. And working through the kink right now. And the kink, as Larry mentioned during the track guide, Finian, this is a very, very fast part of the racetrack. No room for error through here. There's concrete on one side, Armco on the other. The GT3 cars, it's not quite flat out. Maybe if you have a little bit higher downforce setup, it's a little bit of a lift there, but it's full on the brakes for the Porsche Cup cars, at least for the first part of that kink.
Yeah, you got these cars, you have to be very careful. Hard to drive, much harder to drive than the GT3 cars, my personal opinion.
More rewarding to drive, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I think guys like DJ Alessandrini have said, even Tom O'Gorman, who said that in the real world, yeah, they're maybe not as numb as they are in the simulator, but they're certainly number than a Porsche Cup car would be. It's a very active and fun car to drive, and it's kind of on purpose. It's really a car that's used on your way up through the ranks, and it's not easy on purpose. That's the whole draw to it. Puts on some spectacular racing. So 48 seconds left in qualifying before we turn them loose, rack them up, and stack them up for 60 minutes on the 4-mile Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Let's take a look at our weather here tonight. 80 degrees in the air, 87 on the racetrack, Larry. That's relatively cool conditions, and it means pretty grippy laps right now. The top GT3 car, a 203.924.
Yeah, keeping the cool temps would be good. Also for some horsepower if the air temps can drop a little bit. But it'd be good for the track conditions. Going to be some tight racing. You look at the top qualifying times there. The top 6 times are all on the same second, essentially. You know, less than a second covering them in the GT3 group, and then the top 2 in the Porsche Cups are real tight. It's going to come down to who can manage their tires, who can manage the race in this really long format.
And take a look at average speeds once again. The top running Porsche Cup car, about 111 mile an hour average versus 115. So as you said earlier, Finney, not a huge difference in terms of the lap time, although they're very different machines. So gridding up and ready to go racing here tonight for the Washington, D.C. SCCA iRacing League. Next round of the season. This is not a non-points event. So this is just for fun here tonight. But as we look down the order here, a couple new names that haven't necessarily run here before. I see Evan Schickel. He might have been here at least 1 week, but he's driving that Wins 33 Mercedes AMG. There's Lex Kuracek in the number 2 car. I think he's also maybe run racer before, but he's in the number 2 AMG. And a lot of Mercedes tonight, Finn, I don't think that's by accident.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we should rename the GT3 class the Mercedes Cup class, because everyone, and that's really with the balance of performance, favoring the Mercedes quite a bit, and you can see nearly half the class, pretty much more than half the class, is.
It does make the best sounds. So
yeah,
it does. I don't think there's.
Take it.
Yeah.
I mean, even when we ran the 24 hours of Spa last year, we purposely picked the Mercedes because it's the best car.
And so the funny thing is that GT3 machinery is interesting because the cars are so different. I mean, the Ferrari. I think there's a couple Ferraris in there. Dave Fitzgerald might be in one of those. They're mid-engine race cars. They're very balanced, but they also have the tendency to kind of loop around onto on corner entry. The Mercedes is very stable on corner entry, but on corner exit, it's pretty slippery, and it's got a lot of torque as well. So it'll get you pretty good if you're not paying attention on corner exit, Finney.
Yeah, that's these guys have to be careful for. We'll see a lone BMW. I haven't seen a BMW out on a track in a long time.
Yeah, I think, is that Sly Stafford in the 719? No, it's the 91. That's Dave Fitzgerald. And the 719.
The 43.
Oh, yes, the
That's
43. That is Louis Alessi in the 43. So a couple different cars here, but again, the Porsche field looking pretty monotonous there because there's only one car to choose from. But let me tell you, if you're talking about making good noises there, Larry, the Porsche Cup cars, that's my top pick for the night.
I just love the AMGs, but yeah, the Porsches are pretty solid in the sound department.
So field rolls off for a very long pace lap around this 4-mile course. And taking a look at the estimated laps, about 29, Finian, so nice guess there. But here's a look at your starting grid rolling across the bottom of your screen. The 66 driven by Greg Obadia, then it's David Alessi on the outside of the front row in his number 34 car.
Going back to row number 2, it's going to be the 98 of Sam Scott from the Atlantic in 3rd place. And in 4th place, Derek Treacle in the 70 from the Virginias.
And row number 3 for GT3, Daniel Richardson, the number 15. He's been mighty quick in the TCR machinery. How will he fare in the GT3 class this week? Alongside Francois Brou, had a great run in the season opener at Summit Point. We'll see if he can do any better tonight.
Moving on back to the 43 of Louis Alessi in 7th place, the first non-Mercedes car in the GT3 class, and outside of him in 8th is Alexa.
That was Evan Schickel in the 33. And then it was Dennis Barrett, Lex Kuracek the rest of your fifth row for the GT3 cars. So go let that scroll on the bottom of the screen because I want to talk about the back straightaway here a little bit, Larry. Draft here, going to be a big deal. Especially heading down to turn 5, as well as for the Porsche Cup cars. These things draft pretty well. Is turn 5 your best passing opportunity? Is it perhaps also your most dangerous?
Actually, I'd say probably going into Canada Corner might be a better passing opportunity. Turn 5 can also be a good one. You got to really watch it on the brakes there. The braking zone's a little bit of a downhill, and it's just got that sharp left-hand exit. A lot of folks end up making a pass because the driver in front of them just makes a mistake. But if you're trying to set someone up, the longer run down into Canada Corner might actually be the better spot if you take a draft in.
And as field heads down into turn 5, the typical names you see at the top of the board, DJ Alessandrini and Ken Halsteele, well, they're starting on in first and second, but in the Porsche Cup class, Finian, are you surprised by their choice of car tonight?
Not at all. They seem pretty familiar with this car. I haven't seen them entirely in GT3, but I imagine they'll still be good in there. So I think they feel more comfortable in this, and I think they feel it's more fun to drive. So can't argue with that. And I think that's where we're going to see them in this class, and it's definitely going to be, I think, the battle for the class win is going to be amongst these two.
Yeah, I'm super excited, Larry, to watch DJ and Ken go at it in these cars. Again, they're pretty dynamic cars to watch race, and they like to slide them around quite a bit. So that battle between DJ and Ken is going to be one for the ages here, and their qualifying times tell me that they're going to be probably there for most of the night.
Yeah, no disrespect to the rest of the GT3 Cup cars, but those guys are 3 seconds faster, Ken Halsteele and DJ Alessandrini. When you're 3 seconds faster in qualifying, it pretty much sets a tone that the rest of the field's kind of playing for third. These two are just going to be battling it out for this hour-plus race.
Getting back up to GT3, Finney, do you have a favorite in this category? I'm looking at David Alessi in the 34 as probably the favorite. I mean, he's been quick in all types of top-class level cars, but he's got a couple drivers in here that really will end up running better towards the end of the night. Daniel Richardson in the 15, I'm also taking a look at as a guy that could sneak up here and get one.
I'm just looking at Lewis Less because I don't want a Mercedes to win this race. just because of how many that are there, I want a non-Mercedes car to win, so I'm going to go with Alessi.
All right, so heading down through Kettlebombs into Canada Corner again. That's where Larry said was the best passing opportunity. It's also a very beautiful section of racetrack, very picturesque down through here.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Just through the line trees, kind of reminds you a little bit like that Nürburgring setting where you've just got the trees all around you, just kind of winding down through this road into essentially a blind exit corner. It's just beautiful.
It sure is. So the field rolling through turn number 12. Then they got 2 more corners to turn them loose onto the front straightaway. Then they climb up the hill and go racing for 60 minutes. And everyone geared up for 60 minutes of racing the DC region SCCA iRacing League, and there is prizes winning this championship this season, so not really going to be a huge factor tonight, but I did want to remind everybody that the prizes for the overall points leader, you can choose from a 1-day HPDE at Summit Point or Dominion Raceway, a $250 value, and a single Mid-Atlantic Road Racing Weekend entry in 2020. And the overall points leader that's not a DC SCCA member, a Track Night in America GC entry, worth $125. So championship prizes on the line. Green flag flies in racing at Elkhart Lake. Frantic run down to turn number 1. Everyone getting in line. Again, the Mercedes is going to power and thunder down to turn 1. And look at that's the 15 of Daniel Richardson popping on a line there for a moment, but didn't do anything with it. You see the 34 of Alessi get a little bit wide there in the exit of turn 1. That's going to let Ovidia go on through to the lead.
Just want to stay clean this first couple of corners and settle in. You don't want to go making a dumb move and put yourself off and have the back end on a toe in the pits before you even reach turn 5. But they're pretty good here through the first couple of corners.
Porsches are screaming to life down the front straightaway. It looks like DJ Alessandrini in the 61 is going to have a look for the lead. There's Paul Darling in the yellow number 155 who jumped on down the inside of Josh Keidenau.
Yeah, made a big move on the initial start, trying to make up some spots, getting up to the lead.
Whoa.
Oh, we got a car off for the lead. That's
Yep.
the 98.
Sam Scott in the Mercedes off course. And more.
Oh, more carnage.
Dave
It's that
Fitzgerald's
turn
around.
5. It's a tough place. It's just so slippery. It's kind of bumpy. It's got this. It's a really tight corner after coming down that middle straight, and it kind of ends some people's races right there.
Yeah, so we'll go back and take a look at that a little bit later. But meanwhile, Ken Halsteele down the inside in turn number 1, and he slides right in front of the 61 of DJ Alessandrini. A couple other cars come to almost a dead stop. That was Christopher Lapras in the 04. But DJ hangs on, but that's going to be a lot of work for Ken to make up.
Yeah, that's a big mistake from Halsteele, so that's going to cost him a lot. Put him all the way back to allow Alessandrini to drive off into the distance.
Yeah, again, cold tires could have played a factor there, Larry, but probably being a little bit too aggressive, a little bit too soon.
Yeah, a little bit. He's on that inside. I'm watching the replay now. He's on the inside. Had the line, but just, aggressively on the brakes. And the car just snaps before he's even able to get to turn in. Luckily, no contact. He should be able to get himself back up a second, but chasing down DJ is going to be a tall order.
Daniel Richardson in his 15 is looking really impressive so far. Finian tracking down Greg O'Mania in the 66. Darren Treacle in behind. He's 1 second back. He's got Shane Daggett in Canada corner. And now the Porsches head their way down into Canada, and it's DJ with a really solid lead. And Ken's, almost, I don't want to say he's out of the picture, Finian, but that's almost too big of a gap to make up.
Yeah, and considering the fact that, you know, we don't have cautions to bunch everyone back up together, he's going to have to get out there and drive up to Allison Green, which is looking at about a 6-second deficit.
And one doesn't just simply drive up to DJ Alessandrini either, so there might be a little bit of a strategy play there as well. So the GT3 leaders free and clear away from the carnage. That's Ovadia and Richardson nose to tail. And Larry, 57 minutes to go, and already even Elias Roman goes off. That's in the final corner, so it looks like there's a couple drivers struggling to get grips towards the back of the field here.
Yeah, you've got to really get these cars warmed up a little bit, you know, especially in the Porsche Cup cars, but even in the GT3s, you still got to get them warmed up. You got to get into that rhythm. You just throw it out there too early, and you're going to lose the race before it even gets going.
David Alessi in the 34, taking a look on Francois Brou into turn 5 here. Vinny, and patience is going to be a key tonight, but David Alessi is really fast. I think he'll be, you know, up for racing for the win a little bit later, but he's right behind Francois Brou now. And again, we talked about patience versus aggression, and I think right now, I think be patient. Don't throw your race away early.
Yeah, again, you got over 15 minutes left in this race, so don't throw it away now, especially when you got the leaders right ahead of you. If anything, force the guy ahead of you to make a mistake and then wait for your opportunity.
And now Seal working his way around Tala Sadiq, and Sadiq's got a big chunk out of that right front bumper. So he's been involved in a collision somewhere in the field. Might have been braking to avoid that mess down in turn 5 last lap.
Ken doing a pretty good job of just kind of getting things back together without having made contact on that first spin. Luckily, he's able to kind of keep himself going. Though right now he's still, what, about 6 seconds or so behind DJ.
Yeah, I got a lot of work to do tonight. He's got to get by Josh Cotton now, Lapras, Darling, and then go chase down 3 seconds to get back to DJ Alessandrini. Evan Schickel coming back out from the pits in his number 33 after that issue on lap number 1, as will Calvin Wong. Right now, Lydia in GT3, the Mercedes starting to pull away and moving over, kind of weaving down the front straightaway, trying to break that draft. Larry, is that useful, or is that just wasting tire?
Yeah, it can be actually a little bit. You can do a little bit of braking it, you know, just enough. You can slow that draft down. If the draft is worth 0.6, you can probably cut it down to about 0.3 if you can keep that winding a little bit.
Yeah, but on that note, though, I've seen people do it the absolute wrong way, and if you just start swerving all over the place on controller, you can just let the guy catch up to you even easier.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to be tactical about it.
Yeah, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So you start weaving around. Maybe it's not necessarily disadvantaging the guy behind you. It's just making you go slower. But look at David Alessi all over Francois Brou now. This is for 4th in category. And they've got Lex Kuricek behind them in another Mercedes as well. So a trio of these big V8 Mercedes down the back straightaway.
And going back into 8th place in the non-Mercedes class, you got Louis Alessi, Sly Stafford, and Dave Fitzgerald.
And Kuricek took a look at Alessi, but wasn't able to get anything done. Hausiel back up into 4th, got by Josh Kite now through turn 1. Now he's got to get by Lapras, get himself back on podium, and then Paul Darling and DJ to get back to the lead. So he's recovered quite nicely, as Larry touched on, but it's not a small gap, and I think there will have to be some pit strategy or undercut or of some sort to get him back in the picture.
Yeah, he's going to have to do something and pull something out of his hat to make up that gap. I definitely think he's going to finish at least 2nd, maybe. I don't know about Darling. Darling might have enough pace.
Tala Sadiq up the inside, bit of a bobble on the brakes for Kida now. He's going to lose it, and Hausiel has to go wide to miss him.
Great awareness by
Hausiel. Watching his mirrors. You can see right there, as he was braking, he saw the spin happening. He moved a little bit to the right to let the spin happen and then avoided it on exit. That's smart driving. Really watch your mirrors on the braking.
Yeah, and again, that's why he's so good. Riding on board with Kai now, just got on the brakes a little bit too much, and these things really love to spin on the brakes. You get them too deep and past the threshold of the braking power, they'll lock up the rears and send you around. So Kai now spins, but will recover. He's in 7th right now in class.
Yeah, one comment about drafting here. You know, he's doing a little bit of weaving. These guys are going to try and weave a little bit, but let's just not get ahead of ourselves. These things are not Miatas. These are not Skippies. These things don't rely on drafting. It's not going to make or break your race if somebody tries to break a draft on you. So it's still a matter of you got to get clean corner exits on your own terms to get down the straightaway and not necessarily be able to rely on staying in draft position.
Absolutely, and you see David Alessi holding off Lex Kuricek. They're going defensive down the front straightaway, Finian. So now he was at one point working over Francois Brou in the 69 car in 4th, but now he's trying to hold off Kuricek, and Kuricek's going to lean on him through turn number 3 and send the 34 off course.
Yeah. Also, Alessi has even more damage to his car than what he had earlier.
So the 98 and 34 cars are under investigation for avoidable contact. And my guess is that was for the lap 1 issue. And we just have a penalty. It'll be a pass-through for avoidable contact for the 43 of Louis Alessi, who was involved in that collision early on down into turn 5. Right up the road, you see Sly Stafford taking a look at Alessi down in turn 5. Couldn't get the job done. We'll have to try again in turn 6.
Turn 6 is a very sketchy place to try to make a pass. A really tight corner that most people choose to just get single foul out for, because if you're going to go side-by-side, odds you're probably going to make contact, especially if you're in the Ferrari. The Ferrari is a really wide car.
It sure is, and you see Alessi now down to the inside of Calvin Wong, who's a lap down early in that Porsche Cup car, and extra downforce helps a lot getting by the lap traffic, and they'll make that easy. But the 43 of Louis Alessi will have to come on through and serve his penalty for the next couple laps. They got to pass through for avoidable contact involved with the 98 of Sam Scott.
Watching this battle of Alessi and Stafford, this is really the spot that if you're Stafford, you're really trying to set somebody up, is through this kink, get a good clean exit, and maybe get a shot going into Canada corner.
So I saw right behind that battle, Louis Alessi going way off in the kink.
That was Fitzgerald.
It was Fitzgerald in the 91. Thank you for that. But yeah, again, Sly Stafford in this Ferrari. This is the lone Ferrari in the field. And this is the car I'm most comfortable with on course, Vinny. I'm not really sure how it's going to play out for Sly tonight. But again, the BOP of these cars is pretty good. It's not terrible. So it should be competitive in the right hands. And we'll see how that car runs tonight. You see the 43 going to pull off and serve his penalty pass-through.
I think the Mercedes, though, has the legs. I think the Ferrari is better handling. I think the Ferrari is better on tires. So what'll be interesting is how much longer, or can Sly Stafford stay out there longer in the Ferrari than you'll see some of the AMGs stay out.
Absolutely. I think that's going to be something to watch all night long. And again, the GT3s will definitely have to make a pit stop. They cannot go all the way to the end. They drink a lot of fuel. And Sam Scott is working over Dave Fitzgerald out of turn 1 right now.
Scott trying to recover from what happened earlier in the race. Trying to make up some position. It's unfortunate from being in the lead going all the way back to 9th. Unfortunate, and he's going to have a long race ahead of him as we got 15 minutes left.
No challenge yet in the Porsche Cup category. DJ Alessandrini still leading by 3.7 seconds over Paul Darling. Lapras has gotten back by Ken House-Seal. And House-Seal still 4th after that opening lap excursion down into turn 5.
House-Seal, though, looks like he's going to set up Lapras, try and get by him, probably on this middle straight after they come around through turn 3.
And setting sun there over the hill, the trees there, and he's going to set himself up for a straightaway here, and we'll see. Right now he's 2.5 tenths back. How much is this draft worth on the back straightaway here? Oh, looks like Lapras is going to just pull over and let him on by. Maybe he knows he's quicker, Finian?
Yeah, I guess he figures, doesn't want to put up a fight. If anything, wants to let House-Seal get up there to the front. I think it's just kind of picking and choosing your battles.
98 has gotten a warning for avoidable contact. I'm going to bet that was with the 34 of David Alessi that was for. 34 and 2 cars are under investigation for avoidable contact. And so Lex Kuracek and David Alessi having some issues a while ago. Let's put this 34 back here. And I didn't actually get a chance to see what this was all about. So let's go back and see where this contact was referenced. Now, these two were battling hard for some time. Where was this? I'm going to bet down into potentially turn. Oh, it was down into turn 3, I believe.
Yeah, so a lap ago. You see the 2 is the white car behind.
Oh, you know what? He got the grass on corner entry and couldn't get slowed down enough and just absolutely drilled the back of David Alessi, sent him off course. So that's under investigation now, and we'll see if there is any action on that. But Alessi back to 7th and Kuracek up to 5th. And does Kuracek have any damage? I'd be worried. He hit that car a ton. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was hurting on the straightaways now, but we'll see how sturdy that front end is. It looks okay to me.
Yeah, actually, it looks like he didn't get anything.
Mercedes is like a battering ram out there. Alessi's going to have to... His car doesn't look so good. All rear end damage, though, shouldn't really affect the handling of the car too much. 48 minutes left here, 6 laps into about a 29-lap race. No changes up front yet in either category for the lead. Obadia still leading in the 66, and Alessandrini still leading by 3.5 seconds over Paul Darling. You saw Sly Stafford take a look at Alessi there, fitting into turn 6, and you winced for a second because that got pretty close.
Yeah, that's not not the best place to make a pass, especially with these cars being pretty wide. Probably do something like Skippy or Miata to make a pass there. Not with these things. And yeah, Stafford's struggling to actually keep up with the 34. Looks like unless he's starting to break away.
That's another thing about Road America. It's pretty narrow for how fast you're going at certain points of this racetrack, especially through the kink. I mean, this it's not necessarily a super narrow track, but it's also not super wide for the speeds that you're doing. 137 through an almost flat-out corner is pretty tight.
Yeah, especially coming out of some of these corners too. You might expect you would almost expect the corner or the way the track to swing out a little bit more in some places, but it just doesn't.
One thing that they do give you here, Larry, is big, wide exit curbs that drivers will use every inch of. That is fair game. That is not off track. That is not abusing track limits. That's just not 12-foot wide exit curbing to allow drivers to use a little bit more racetrack.
Oh yeah, you want to use those on exit. In fact, some of these have a corner entry, like even turn 14 that leads you down the front straight. There's a bit of curbing on driver's left. You can cheat over there a little bit and get a little bit of an extra curve and open up that radius to get even a faster exit. You'll see some of these guys as I'm watching now, Francois Brew and Kurchak coming into one. Some of them will be way over on track left by those cones, using the curbing on entry and of course using the curbing on exit, just trying to maximize the radius of all these corners. It's a good battle though, by the way, between Brew, Kurchak, and Barrett. These three, all right now, just a couple seconds between them.
Yeah, Lex Kurchak actually started in 10th up to 5th, so a +5 gain, Finney. That's a lot of pace I'm seeing out of the 2-car right now, currently 5th in class, and running lap times that are good enough to be here, but Dennis Barrett and David Alessi are keeping pace, and even Sly Stafford is running a touch faster than Kurchak, at least last lap. So I think we're going to see these guys kind of accordion back together. The 2-car has been assessed a penalty for avoidable contact, and it will be a pass-through penalty for Kurchak. So as I say that, early pit stop going to be required for the number 2. There was a discussion.
Yeah, we just talk about how fast he was.
Yeah, I mean,
here he is having to serve a penalty.
Yeah, there was discussion pre-race with race control that they didn't want to throw down the hammer on the first race as Kurchak goes off making bad things worse. They didn't want to throw down the hammer here, but you get car-to-car contact and it's frowned upon, so Kurchak will have to serve that penalty.
He's in front of
David Alessi. And for a moment, sometimes the penalty makes you feel better if you're David Alessi seeing that 2-car hit pit lane, but it doesn't give you your spots back. And so 34 still got a lot of work to do to get back to where he was.
These guys are currently running 17 seconds behind our leader, Grego Badia, who's expanded his lead over Daniel Richardson to 2.3 seconds.
Into Canada quarter now, Kurchak back to 6th, and Alessi going to take a look to the inside, maybe a bit of a rub there on corner exit. And race control is very carefully watching this as we work through the final sector. And the 2-car will peel off and serve that penalty. And Road America, that pit road is long, Larry. I mean, this is, if any track, this is not the one that you want to be dealing with. And you see behind him, Sam Scott, big impact out of the final corner, pounds the concrete. That's race over for the 98.
And Kurchak's not going to serve his penalty in this lap. He's going to wait a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Not sure why you wouldn't.
I would think you're right, yeah. I would rather serve the penalty when I'm in the middle of a battle where I'm actually going slower on average lap time, a long race. I'd go ahead and serve the penalty then rather than, and maybe later find some clear track. Right now, you're just going to be slow anyway, mixing it up.
Yeah, especially too because he's making quite a few mistakes. It's kind of good to just come into the pits, just reset everything, and then get back out there. So, yeah, so this is going to be interesting here. And the 2 staying out and going slower in front of the 34 has allowed Sly Stafford to get the spot.
Yeah, and maybe, Larry, is there some ill intent there to maybe hold up the 34 a little bit, or is that probably not on the driver's mind at this point?
I can't imagine it's on his mind. I think probably this whole penalty is just getting in his own head, and it's a bit of a distraction for him. Just got to broke his own concentration, and it's just showing his the way he's driving on the track. You just got to settle it down. Like you said, get in, serve the penalty, get it over with, reset your head, and get back out on track. Maybe clear track and just put in some laps.
Yeah, Sly Stafford was real sideways through turn 6 as well.
That Ferrari not liking that corner a lot. Not too surprised the way it's set up. And you're talking so some of the corners it does get loose.
The Ferrari is an interesting vehicle because it tends to kind of skate around a little bit in slow speed corners. The Mercedes got a ton of mechanical grip, so in the slow speed stuff, the Mercedes is the car I want to be in. But I find the Ferrari is a lot more nimble at high speed. And so what you're giving up in low speed performance, you're gaining in the high speed stuff. See, Sly off a little bit out of the carousel. That's going to give Alessi away on by heading into the kink. That's a little tight, but he gets it done.
Yeah, we're all cringing here. Don't want to be side by side through there.
Dave Fitzgerald watching all this out his windshield. It's a couple seconds up the road, but he's hoping maybe these 2 bump and rub and bring him into that battle as Alessi has to go the long way around from Canada corner. Now when we see Kuracek hit pit lane, now that he's clear of that battle, I would expect him. He's got to have to serve it within 3 laps, and I think this time... No, he's going to go out again. So maybe trying to protest that. But I don't know how successful he'll be in that endeavor.
You can protest it all you want, but you're going to lose.
I'm sure his team manager is on his way down to pit race control right now to try and file a protest.
And here comes Sly Stafford way deep on the brakes for turn 1. Took a look. That was real tight. And David Alessi knew that was his corner. He turned in, and he just trusted that Stafford would back out of that, and he did. That was about as close as it gets.
Well, and that's that Ferrari. I think it's got better high-speed corner entry, and turn 1's a very fast corner. It's tough to control the Mercedes in there, and he was thinking he could make that move, but, you know, 2 doesn't go into 1 really well.
That was pretty tight. We'll take a look from up above at how much more performance the 719 got on the brakes into turn 1. Took a look, and Alessi just turns in. He just figured, I'm going to turn in, and if you're there, it's your fault anyway, so we'll just do it, and he did.
He had a massive run, too, heading down to the turn as well. I think he was just trying to take advantage of that, but unfortunately couldn't capitalize.
Let's check in on the Porsche Cup category for a little bit. Josh Kite now in the 18, running in 5th. He's a little wide out of turn 13. He'll let Talas Sadiq go back around. He'll take P5 in Porsche Cup. I love how these cars dance around. They're a handful to drive, but they are absolutely joyous. Elias Roman, he spun around. That's the exit of Canada corner. That might be race over for the 99. Not out. Oversteer. Just he was over on the curbs there, Larry, and just spun the rear tires.
Yeah, you got to really be on throttle control these things. And if you get across the curbs too far, you get out towards the edge of the grass or the extension of the exit there, and that's what's going to happen. It's going to come around.
Oh, Josh Kite now in the 18. He's also spun out. And I think this is actually the exit of turn 1.
I think, wasn't he was fighting with Sadiq, right?
Yeah, and I don't think there was any contact. I think he just got on the brakes too hard right behind the 45 and just lost the rear of the car and spun out. No contact, but lost a bunch of time. We've really thinned out the Porsche Cup category. We've lost Elias Roman, Calvin Wong. David Atkinson is a lap down from the leaders. But DJ Alessandrini leading by 5.4 seconds over Paul Darling. Then House Seal, another 5.4 beyond that. Daniel Richardson hits pit lane in the 15. Maybe a scheduled stop here for this car.
I think definitely a scheduled stop.
I think tires and fuel here, Larry. You're going to make me just do fuel? What do you think these guys will do in the GT3 cars?
I think you got to do tires. I think the tires go off so hard. If you try to do the entire duration on the single set, you'll be so slow in the second part. You've got to really go with fresh tires as well.
That being said, though, if I'm a driver in second place, especially considering he's pretty close to Obadia, and if he doesn't feel he can pass him on pure pace, honestly, I'd say try just going no tires. Get that good track position.
That's a big risk.
Yeah, it is a risk, but you know, I mean, for these guys, it is a non-points of it. Might as well try to go for the win.
But look at David Alessi trying to grab a spot back from Sly Stafford into turn 5, and maybe using the chrome horn a little bit. They are going hard at it. This is all for 6th place, and they've been running over each other and running into each other and spooking each other. It's a fun battle to watch, though.
But this now, finally, we got the Ferrari as the lead of these two. Let's see if he can maybe make up a little bit of a gap in some of the faster corners, like the carousel coming up in a couple corners. I'll be curious to see how the Ferrari exits that instead of the AMG.
And the 2 is also still not coming to the pit, so I don't know if he was actually able to overturn that or not.
Yeah, well, I don't have a way to tell you or communicate that it's been overturned.
Like it's 3 laps to pass.
Yeah, I agree. But see, now we see through the carousel. David Alessi is actually able to keep pretty good time on the 719 through the kink. Now you see a bit of a bigger lift for the AMG. Oh no, Stafford loses it! Does he get the fence? I think he did. Oh,
he's
big damage.
He's done.
And just
the
like
pressure
that,
behind him, he tried to make that kink in a slightly awkward line, got a little bit wide, and then snapped across the track.
that hurts. Said it's such a good run.
Yeah, it was such a good battle too.
And just got off, and that's
the grass.
That's the quintessential way to crash your car at Road America, is dropping a wheel off in the kink. And you see that car driving more sideways than it is forward, and that'll be the end of the night, or at least, yeah, he's gonna just pull it off course now. What a shame.
He's trying to get it back to the pits.
Here comes Kuracek.
Even if he gets there, they're going to tell him no.
Now, so let's pretend now that the 2 car are serving his penalty. I don't think he can take service on the pass-through, so I guess we'll see if he takes service. This is...
It just said black flag's cleared, according to race control.
Oh, so he was able to overturn that somehow. Wow.
No. Well, I think that's because it's a pass.
Or is that serving it?
That
that is serving it. I guess he's able to take service.
Well, Kuracek
Don't know.
might have gotten lucky there, but still 7th, and you see Sly Stafford pulling in behind, and that car is not going to get repaired, at least in a reasonable amount of time.
Because the way that they usually do the pass-throughs, because there isn't pass-through yet, they...
This build, by the way, the next build. On December 3rd, we will finally have pass-through penalties enabled. They also announced today that rescanned version of Lime Rock Park is coming, as well as a completely redone version of the Skip Barber car, the new V8 supercars, and more. So they're going to be a fun build in a couple of days here.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I can't wait for that, actually.
It was funny, too, because Kyle, we were just talking about them rescanning Lime Rock the other day.
Yeah,
when we were running there.
It took them, what, 10 years to do it?
It took them a long time.
Yeah.
Finally got it done.
The new chicane.
Yeah, a whole 9 yards, all 4 different layouts. Really looking forward to that, and it will be free to all members. It will now be included in the base content package.
I would hope so.
Well, yeah. But. All right, so update almost halfway through this race. 37 minutes left. Greg Obadia still leads GT3. Darren Treacle has worked his way into second. Still needs to make his pit stop, as does most of the other cars in the GT3 class. DJ Alessandrini is out up front in Porsche Cup, but he has not looked back since the drop of the green flag. Finian, his last lap of 2:10.262. And that was faster than anybody else except for Ken House-Seal.
And now Seal catching back up to Paul Darling. It's going to be a battle for second place brewing. But other than that, it's between Darling and Alessandrini, it's a 7-second gap. So it's only expanding.
Oh, the sounds that this Porsche Cup car makes is unbelievable. It just screams and pops and rattles and cracks. It's a great sounding race car.
And Ken right now is he's closing in on Paul finally. Maybe a mistake or two here and there has kept him kind of at bay, but he's closing now at about 2.5 seconds behind Paul Darling. So this is going to be a bit of a race on our hands here in a couple laps.
Yeah, and Paul hasn't been really a slouch either, running pretty competitive lap times. It's just Ken just a little bit quicker. So as you said, Lefty, there's going to be a battle for second here shortly in Porsche Cup. Gosh, that car sounds good. All right, checking back in. How about the mid-pack here in GT3? Dave Fitzgerald, the 91. He's 6 seconds back from David Alessi, but how has he gotten here, Finian? By staying out of trouble. He started tonight back in 12th spot, which was not quite the end of the GT3 field, but pretty close. He's up to 6th now. Just hasn't made a whole lot of mistakes and just kind of hanging out, passing cars as they crash out.
Yeah, that's really what you just need to do in some of these races. So have a good night. So it's been a pretty lonely night. He's got 6 seconds up to the car ahead of him and 20 seconds to the next car back. So he's kind of by himself.
Nothing wrong with that strategy. Yep. Keep your nose clean. It's a good race.
The Jiggle in the 33 had a poor start to the night in his number 33 machine, but there's Talas Sadiq behind him. He's just gotten by. So the other thing to consider is that because these cars aren't that different in terms of lap time, we do have towards the back of the field the GT3s that had some trouble at the start. They're kind of intermixed now with the nose end of the Porsche Cup field. So Talas Sadiq in 5th was working with Evan Schickel. Lex Kuracek is working over DJ Alessandrini right now. So there's a little bit of weird class mixing where the faster class isn't lapping the slower class. They're just working their way back through, and it's taking them a little bit longer than it otherwise would with a different car and track combo. So interesting dynamic here early, and Lex has got to get by leader DJ Alessandrini.
Well, and as we've talked about in previous weeks, DJ does not make it easy, even if he's the slower paced car, to get past. He's just going to stick his elbows out, and then he's going to tell the AMG, you pass me where it's better for me.
Francois Brou in the 69 has just showed moving up into second because Greg Obadia has hit pit lane in his number 66. So he's down on pit road getting service, and we'll go back to watching DJ fight off these GT3s while that goes on. But we'll see where Daniel Richardson pops out in relation to Obadia. I think that'll be the battle for the lead.
About 2.7 seconds the difference between them when Richardson came into the pits. Awkward line for the two.
Yeah, this is getting really weird here with TJ leading this group. Sly Stafford, they might have a reset here tonight, which is probably why he's back out there running. So he's going to run in right behind the 2 car into Canada corner. DJ around the outside. DJ's going to run off course, and just like that, a big chunk of the lead for DJ will be gone.
I was going to say, if I was DJ, I would have pulled over on that straightaway and just let them on by.
Yeah, he was probably running a little bit too hard there, knowing that could happen. And again, it wasn't nothing he did wrong there, but you force yourself into mistakes trying to hold these cars behind him to wait for better opportunities.
He lost a lot of time in the gap now, 2 seconds back.
This will be the pass-through for the two. He was reassessed another pass-through penalty a couple minutes ago at 9:02 local time. So Lex coming back through and wasn't able to completely avoid that penalty, all things said and done. So where did Daniel Richardson pop out? Well, he's still a couple seconds behind. Actually, that couple seconds is disingenuous. He's a lot of ways behind Greg Obadia. Now, question, did they take tires? Richardson's pit stop was a 29-second stop. Obadia's was a 22-second stop.
I'd say it's probably tires. If not, just took a lot of extra fuel.
I'm wondering about the extra fuel that he may have taken on. Whether one of those two got the fuel load right and the other one not remains to be seen. We've seen that where the last splash and go was needed because of an incorrect fuel calculation. We may be seeing that here.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a big disparity in fuel, 7 seconds. So just to see if that plays out. I want to bet more so on the tires, and that Richardson was the one that took it.
Stafford, though, his pit stop was only 16 seconds. I suspect he did not take tires in the Ferrari.
Yeah, I wonder, how does the reset work? If you get a reset, how does the pit stop situation work out? I don't even know.
What do you mean?
Like,
oh,
if you get a,
you still have to go for tires.
You still have to, okay, so you still have to sit there for the pit box. That wouldn't affect anything. So Lex Kuracek going to be returning to the racetrack in the number 2 car, albeit farther down the order than he would probably like to be. So with DJ running off course, that's brought Paul Darling into 2 seconds back, and Ken House-Seal is only 4 seconds back from DJ. So Lefty, that DJ running off course really gave Ken House-Seal a new lease on life here, and this is a doable gap now. I mean, it's still a pretty big gap to make up, but that you could do that if you're Ken House-Seal. So how does he attack for the last half of this race?
Well, you know, like we saw, you got to keep your nose clean even with traffic. So even when you're the slower one and one of these GT3 AMGs comes up behind you, you got to let them by quickly so it doesn't throw you off in the next corner like it did for DJ. So Ken House-Seal's got to remember that on his own opportunities where he may have to let somebody by, or he's going to go by a slower GT3, is do it carefully, minimize the damage, minimize the time loss, and see if DJ makes another mistake.
David Alessi's pit stop, he just came on in. Only 18 seconds, so how does that factor into all this?
I'm wondering if some of them are taking, or Richardson took 2 tires.
I mean,
because like the time is, there's too big of a difference in the stop for them to just be doing like
Lefty
just was extra on fuel.
Would 2 tires be a strategy that you would ever call in a GT3 car? I mean, that's something you'd see in NASCAR. I don't know about this, but what's your call?
You might. The fronts go way pretty hard on the Mercedes, so maybe they're thinking just go with the fronts and deal with the tire spin on the rears. I don't know that I'd ever want to just replace the rears and leave the fronts alone.
So,
these things eat them up pretty good.
So based off the time, it's looking like Richardson took 4, Obadia took 2, and then who were you just looking at come out of the boots?
David Alessi in the 34.
Oh, okay, so Alessi took none, and Francois Brou took 2.
Darren Treacle heads on down into pit lane. Well, what will he do as he climbs up? This is a long hill up pit lane, and again, you're on a limiter 45 miles an hour for quite a long ways. We'll see what Treacle does, but he was a couple seconds back from Greg Obadia, and it's a 37-second gap right now as the pit road delta starts, and Obadia working his way through the final corner and should easily pass Treacle. The question is, how far back will Treacle be after the pit stop?
He's in his pit stall now. We can see what kind of tires he's taking.
Obadia going to be flying by at 150 miles an hour. Dave Fitzgerald is, I believe, working his way up into pit lane. Yes, he is. He's about to creep over the top of that hill. He is in. Treacle's still on pit lane, and this is another long stop, over 24 seconds, 24.2. So big disparities in the pit stop deltas here, Finian.
Yeah, they're all over the place. Someone's done a 16-second stop, an 18-second stop, a 22-second stop, a 24-second stop, and a 29-second stop.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the hell's going on on pit road.
I think everyone's just trying something different. They're throwing something at the wall and hope it sticks. But Dave Alessi is going to be chasing down Darren Treacle now. Both these cars have made their pit stop, so this is the battle for 6th, and it will run likely to the end of the race. Paul Darling is off down in, I think that's turn 14. That's the final corner. So Ken House-Seal is up into 2nd. What happened to Darling? Ran wide and had the car way off balance. You actually see the right rear tire almost lift off the ground. And I'm not sure if that's a setup thing, how he had this car configured, or if it just got a bad bounce. But he only was 3-wheeling it there for a second.
I think he
look at that.
Yeah, he threw the car way too hard to the left, and under the brakes, the car balance got upset.
I've never seen anything like that on a Porsche. I mean, I've seen that on the TCRs all the time, but he was 3-wheeling it through the last corner and just lost it and lost a bunch of time with it.
He's got some left rear damage as well.
Yeah, got leaned on earlier, I think, as Evan Schickel in the 33 is going to work on by him. That's an overall pass for position, 11th overall. But But again, not competing in the same class. Shane Daggett down pit lane, and he's returning to the racetrack. And he'll tuck in behind. I think that's the bright green. That's Don. No, who is that? That green, that Monster Energy.
I am.
It's Dennis Barrett, isn't it?
Oh, Dennis Barrett. Is it Dennis Barrett? It is Dennis Barrett. Second in class right now. He has yet to make a pit stop, and Francois Brou has also not made a pit stop. So the top two have not made their stop yet. Then Obadia, then Louis Alessi has also not. So Richardson's going to cycle out to be second here, Finian, but it's going to be a significant gap, probably about 10-15 seconds between him and Obadia.
About half of that looks like the difference in their pit stops.
Right.
About a 7-second difference in pit stop, and it's going to be about a 14-second difference on the track.
Louis Alessi in the 43 comes on down. One of the only BMWs in here other than Dave Fitzgerald, who's already made his stop. I've also heard that the BMW lately has gotten a bit of a BOP treatment, Finian, that it's reasonably quick, and that's probably why those guys tried it out.
I haven't seen from the little I've seen of the pro cities or like bigger leagues. There's quite a few guys that do drive the BMW. Contrary to popular opinion, it's one of the oldest cars on the grid, other than the McLaren. That was actually, the McLaren was the first ever GT3 car on the service.
Yeah, the McLaren is so on edge that I would advise anyone drive against that.
There was one time when all these cars, they balanced it way too far in the McLaren's favor, and everyone was driving the McLaren again.
So, interesting note here is that Ken House-Seal is now 4.5 back from DJ Alessandrini. Last time by, he was a 10th quicker. So Ken House-Seal, he's got time to go up there and run down DJ Alessandrini, but do you think he's going to be able to do it, Lefty?
He's got probably to rely on DJ to make a mistake, but he can't make any. That's the issue here. He's got to be really cautious every single lap and hit his marks. He's running 209s. If he can keep doing that and hope DJ has a slip up somewhere, all it takes is for DJ to put 4 off somewhere and lose 3 seconds, and then House-Seal's right on his tail again.
Yeah, I was gonna say he also, and that's the thing too, he has to not make a mistake, but he still has to push, because he can't just make up a 10th a lap. He's gonna make up 2-3 tenths a lap if anything, or like you're saying, just force Alessandrini or hope that he makes a mistake.
Well, the other thing to consider is that this is a multi-class race. I mean, it's very possible that DJ makes no mistakes, but the guys around him do, and can make that interesting. You got a couple cars approaching them from behind. Evan Schickel in the 33, Louis Alessi in the 43. So we're gonna have a couple of GT3 cars going by here shortly. That's going to make this very interesting. David Alessi is back down on pit lane in the 34. And have we seen it? I thought we already saw it. Oh, he's got damage.
Oh,
David Alessi in the 34. Big front end damage to this race car. And how did this happen? This was, through the kink. Last time by.
Where it always happens.
Is he going to run a little bit wide? Oh, yeah. Drops the left rear wheel.
Exactly,
and bang. Horrible
exactly
impact.
What Stafford did.
Yep, same exact thing. What an impact there. Just get a little bit greedy. And that curb, there's actually a second stage of curbing that you can kind of rely on, and then it abruptly ends, and that's where you drop your left rear wheel off and where things get bad real fast. It'll probably be the end of the night for Alessi, at least in terms of the competitive form. So
I'm watching House-Seal. He's got Evan Schickel right on his tail, about to go by him on the front straight. I wonder if he can try to use Evan as a little bit of a draft as they go down the straight with AMG, have a little bit more power, kind of slip in behind him.
And actually, this was a discussion earlier in the week, was will these Porsche Cup cars be faster at the end of the straights? And I think overall they would be, but look at it, as soon as he gets behind that Mercedes, it's like following a refrigerator, just picked up 10 miles an hour,
and if
just
you
like
stay
that.
Here, you could get a bit of it too, going down the next straightaway as well. If he's a little bit too far behind.
Well, he's already gained a couple tenths of a second on DJ Alessandrini, and he's going to be half a second back. Should be enough to get something.
He's been a tenth a lap quicker the last couple of laps now, each.
Down the track.
Use that draft. Like you mentioned about a refrigerator, that AMG punches a huge hole in the air.
Yeah, it's like driving a rhinoceros around Road America. It's a huge car, and that's advantageous for anybody that can tuck in behind. Christopher Lapras, I believe, has hit pit lane in his 04, and we haven't talked about him a whole lot tonight, Finian, but he started third, running fifth. It's been a good night for him, but it's so difficult to win these races when you got guys like DJ and Ken in the race.
Yeah, indeed, especially looking. This guy's still not yet made a pit stop. I'm pretty sure. Looking like they could just go to the end from here.
Well, I guess the question is, if we see Lapras on pit lane, that my expectation is that we'll see DJ and Ken on at some point, which could really throw this up in the air. Now, there was some discussion, as I mentioned pre-race, that The Porsches go quite a long ways on fuel. They got a big tank in these things, but I just don't know if we're going to actually see that or if they wanted to maybe lose a couple gallons to be a little bit lighter. So Dennis Barrett's on pit lane in the 83. He was in second. And Hausiel has closed in a couple more tenths on DJ, so we'll see what it is this time through. There comes the 43 of Louis Alessi. And now DJ's got to deal with Evan Schickel up the road.
Yeah, and I'm watching Louis Alessi is in the exact same spot that Schickel was a lap ago, giving Ken Hausiel a chance to kind of draft him. Although then, of course, Schickel just went off in Canada corner. It's going to eliminate the chance of Ken getting a draft on the front straight. So it's kind of looking to see if you can kind of let him by in a key spot and then use him as a draft.
Here comes DJ into pit lane. And will Hausiel follow? Will he overcut? He's going to go overcut here, Finney. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, honestly, I would just stay out, especially because now I think he's got a pretty good amount. Yeah, he's got quite a bit of clean track up ahead, so just stay out. Runs him clean laps, although he's going to have that 43 come back into him again.
Yeah, so that was...
Maybe if Alessi here can get by Hausiel into turn 3, then Ken can follow him and draft him in a couple of spots. And that's the key is, can you use him to your advantage?
Alessi in the 43, remember, Lefty was just saying he went off the Canada corner after getting by Ken Hausiel. That's frustrating for a guy like Ken, where you got a faster car that approaches you, it gets past you, then it messes up the next corner, you got to do a pass all over again. Yeah. It's not going to help anything here.
And from the looks of it, I don't think Alessi's going to be able to get by down to turn 5, so he's going to catch him in the mid part of this track. It's going to be pretty awkward when he gets by.
Yeah, you saw how early Alessi had to brake, because the GT3 cars can have so much more braking power than the Porsches, but he didn't want to just sail up the inside, so Alessi's losing a lot of time here as well. This is not good for either driver, but as long as Alessi's behind Ken, it's not a huge concern.
It's not good for Alessi, but for Ken, he's able to dictate the pace right now. He's able to dictate his own braking points and try and make Alessi pass him in a spot that's advantageous to him. And probably will be maybe going down the back straight into Canada corner again, which is where they were a lap ago. I think that's the best place for Ken. For Alessi, he just has to do it without ending up at the beach.
Yeah, this will benefit Hausiel if he can get a nice tow from this BMW.
Francois Brou has hit pit lane from the lead in GT3 as we watch Hausiel and Alessi do the dance around the kink here at Road America. And exploring the edge of that track limit there for a moment. You saw the dirt flying up on exit. You have to be aggressive. If you go through there slow, there's a lot of time to be gained there, but it's also going to penalize you quite a bit if you go over.
Yeah, pretty steep penalty. Interesting, though, is still Louis Alessi not getting by him at the end of the straightaway. So still Hausiel is in the lead. I really am surprised with this.
Oh, big action down into turn 5. Lapras pulling over. Richardson in second. Francois Brou in third. And Brou slides on exit and pounds the concrete. The 69. Big damage on that left side.
Yeah, this is Brou, I think, just out of the pits as well. He just came into his pit stop, and Obadia is retaking the lead.
And Hausiel heads into pit lane with his car. So a little bit of a drama all within a 10-second period there. Some drama down in turn 5, and Brou got the short end of the stick. Now Hausiel comes into the box and going to try to beat DJ Alessandrini out. Where is DJ right now? He's working through the final corner, and DJ's pit delta, it was a 13-second stop, so Hausiel might be close here if he can short fuel, but again, I don't think DJ is going to take more fuel than he needs, so that was probably the absolute minimum time that Ken can spend on pit lane.
Try something here, and he's going to pretty much take about the same. Here comes Alessandrini screaming down the front straightaway.
And Ken still sitting
almost identical pit stop times, actually. Let's just see if his full pit deltas right on par. Look at that, within a tenth on both regards between the two of them. That's between the two of them. That's how you pit a car, is you minimize your overall pit delta and you minimize the time stopped.
Yep, and I think for Ken, it wasn't really any gain there, but he didn't really lose a whole lot either. It's still about 4.5, 4.6 seconds.
Yeah.
That's starting to become a gap that it's going to be tricky to overcome, though. I think that's the challenge.
Yeah, and up at the front for the overall lead, Obadia, a 19-second lead over Richardson.
He's led 13 of the 20 laps that we've completed so far, and he's absolutely putting a clinic on everybody else so far tonight. But Daniel Richardson, I told you at the beginning of the race that this would be a guy I'd want to watch, because he's been pretty quick tonight. His best lap time's only about 2/10 off of Greg Obadia, so I really liking the pace that Daniel's had. Again, probably going to be out of the picture for the win tonight unless something bad happens to Greg, but this is going to be a good run for the 15. Lex Kuracek in the 2. Remember, that penalty was really what put the damper on his day. Still 11th in class, and right behind him is Paul Darling in Porsche Cup, and then right in front of him is Porsche Cup Talas Tariq. So Lex got some other traffic to deal with before he can catch Evan Schickel, who's about 4 seconds up the road.
Kind of it's a busy area of the track right now. There's about 9 cars there in the carousel between the 2 different classes, just kind of mixing it up.
Right on board with Lex to the back sector here. Oh, that got really tight as they head to the kink. Wow.
Trying to be greedy, they're getting a toe off of a Porsche.
There's a bit of a spatial disagreement there, I think. But they got it done, so Lex Kuracek gets on by Talasaric and sets his sights on Evan Schickel. About a 5-second difference. And Francois Brou hits pit lane in number 69.
And Darling and Lapras, I think, both just spun there coming into Canada corner.
Oh, and Darling, it's been more than one mistake tonight. That's Obadia.
Oh no!
Oh no! And Paul Darling crashes on the exit again.
I think his car is. I think he's got damage.
He's got big damage on this 155. So
he's on the toe.
Oh yeah, this is Obadia.
Oh wow!
The
We're
class
talking about
leader.
something bad happening to him.
Oh yeah, it was Paul Darling slipped and he actually spun out Obadia, and Darling himself spun out. So this was just a mess down here.
Well, and already looks like that one's under review.
Yes, that will be under review. The 155 and the 66. No ill intent there for the 155. Just made a mistake, but it cost Greg Obadia over half his lead.
Yeah, brought the gap down at 8.5 seconds now. So pretty much, yeah, like you said, cut it in half by about 10 seconds.
Does he get a little damage on that car?
On the
I don't think you should. If anything, it should be allocated to the rear of that car.
Yeah, it would be on the left rear if anything. I don't see anything.
Okay.
So he should be all right. But now the question is, can Richardson capitalize on that and really start to lay down some laps? Again, we only have about 16 minutes to go, so it's a tall task still, but a little bit easier when the leader goes for a spin.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of hard, too, because Obadiah's been going at a pretty fervent pace. He's been running 205s. His fastest lap is 204. Richardson has really only been in the 206 range, so I don't think Richardson quite has the pace to make up that gap, but anything can happen. Maybe if Obadia has another mistake happen to him, or if he makes a mistake himself.
Yeah, one thing I did notice, though, is that the 66 had glowing red-hot brake rotors down into turn 5 lefty, so he's starting to lean on his equipment some more, and right there is Talasaric in the 45. I think he's gone off in turn 8. And I think this is a similar situation what we've been seeing all night, locking up the rears, and he just didn't even make the corner. Just drove off straight into the gravel trap, and he got back on. He's third in class right now, as Ken Hausil and DJ Alessandrini still lead. And Hausil's dropped quite a bit of time to DJ the past lap.
He's had with Schickel and Daggett trying to kind of make the way through there. Hausil's been a pretty good gentleman here, kind of letting him through, but I think he's been trying to set them up to draft a little, but it just hasn't been working for him.
Shane Daggett and the number 11 Mercedes, and see now Ken Hausil right on board on the straightaway again. And they definitely go a lot faster with the Mercedes in front of him, but I just don't know how much it's really going to do for him. 160 at the end of the straight.
Yeah, you can see just even with that draft, he's not able to really gain, just sort of limits his. It does help him a little bit, but then he goes into the corner, it's gone. Now he's going to have another one coming up behind him. That's Karachek. Maybe again he could try and use Karachek for some drafting. That's really his best hope right now, is to let these guys by in places that help him use the draft and try and close up and hope Alessandrini has a struggle when they get to him.
The problem for Ken Hausil is that he lost 2 seconds last lap, but he's not gaining 2 seconds from the draft, so it's been a bigger gain than or a bigger loss than a gain. Also, the 155 of Paul Darling has been penalized, avoidable contact. It will be a pass-through penalty for the 155. However, he has retired that car, and right in front of Hausil, Shane Daggett goes off, and this is not going to help the 23.
Oh, definitely not. 11 just was not able to get to the corner quick at all, and that's pulled up Hausil even more.
Yeah, actually, it was kind of blocking the 23 there for a second. It's going to hurt Shane Daggett to have the 23 back in front of him again, so there's no incentive for him just to pull over if he went off course. He's not going to let the 23 back on by because it's going to slow him down. The question is, will race control look at that as a little bit of a naughty moment there and maybe throw a warning? But I don't know if there's anything malicious there.
I don't think
the warning is, yeah, it's a warning at most. You know, it's racing. The two guys are racing for their position. You know, it's all three technically for position, but you know, it happens.
Yeah, all three are competing for overall position, as Lefty said. Kuracek in 10th overall, Shane Daggett 11th, and Ken House-Seal in 12th. And Ken's going to go a little bit wide in Canada corner, just struggling right now, and is not putting the end of this race together like he needs to if he wanted to go catch DJ. But again, DJ's so hard to beat in pretty much anything. And I knew right from the beginning when we saw Ken go for a loop down in turn 5 that it was going to be a long night. Because DJ just doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's gone off a few times, but really wasn't totally on him. He had some cars to his inside he was trying to miss. So DJ's putting a pretty good race together and continues to lead this race.
Speaking of putting a good race together, Gio Badia back in the front has expanded the lead back from 8.5 seconds to 11 seconds. So he got expanded, not close. So Badia not slowing down.
Making a really good time right now, a 2:05.287. Last time by for Daniel Richardson. We'll know when he comes across the line, but I don't think he's doing that kind of lap time. Here he comes, a 2:07.643. So a 2-second gain in 1 lap for Obadia as he continues to drive away. So even though there was that bit of a scare down in Canada corner, he's not blinking and just setting an incredible pace at the front of this field. 12.5 minutes to go here for the Washington, D.C. region SCCA iRacing League. The next round from Road America, and we'll return to our TCR and MX-5 mix-up at the next race. But tonight, a little bit of GT3 action in a bit of an endurance round, and Obadia going and buy another GT3 machine. I think that was Don Manning in the 92. We have not seen a whole lot of Don tonight. Started in 14th, currently 11th. Has passed a few cars that have had issues, but his last lap was 3 minutes and 8 seconds. I think that was because he just came to pit road, so he's done for the night on pit stops.
BMW can go pretty long without a pit stop.
Sure can. I mean, that Mercedes drinks a lot of gas.
I think he was there.
That big motor, definitely thirsty.
I think he was. He might have joined the grid late, but I think he was there when the green flag dropped. But either way, he's out on course right now. He's only 2 laps down, so couldn't have been that. Here's DJ Alessandrini holding off Kuracek, and saying we've seen this story a couple times tonight. Kuracek to work over the inside lane and put DJ offline. DJ tucks back in.
Yeah, he does not like to be overtaken, even if it's a different class.
No, he doesn't. He's not going to make it easy, but Kuracek is going to have a lot more torque, a lot more straightaway speed, at least for the first part of the straight here, so it should be over pretty quick here. And DJ's going to go defensive. That's typical DJ, going defensive on faster class cars. I got to love it.
Well, a car's a car.
Gonna make it pass on DJ's terms.
Yep. Around the outside. Actually, he's let the 2 car go around the outside, so pass complete. Now Shane Daggett's got to get on by, and there's another car. That's the 18 of Josh Kide now, who's had a couple issues tonight, but has that car repaired and running inside the top 5 in the Porsche Cup category.
Seal though still about 6.5 seconds behind DJ. No one really around him. Is he just take that back? Is he just making his way around? Is that Obadia now passing him?
Yeah, that's a 66, the overall race leader. Getting on by. So it's been 50 minutes since we started this race, and Obadia still not even close to getting past DJ Alessandrini. He should be within the next 3 or 4 laps that he'll get there, but we only have about 5 laps to go the next time by. So it goes to show you, I mean, this is a big racetrack, but the class difference isn't enormous here in terms of the overall speed. We've seen that for the majority of the night. So Obadia continues to drive away from Daniel Richardson. His lead is now 12.3 seconds. Closest battle on the racetrack is overall position between DJ Alessandrini and Shane Daggett in the number 11. That's that bright yellow Mercedes.
And he's going to catch him again going into Canada corner. All the extra horsepower in that AMG.
The bigger lift required for the kink. For DJ, see the brake lights come on there. And in the GT3s, you don't necessarily, you can lift off the gas. You might just drag the brake a little bit. Depends on the driver. But you see all that time gained for the 11 through here. Oh, yeah, he took a look, and I think he knew. Yeah, he took a look, and then I think he realized he was never going to make that pass cleanly and just sat behind. But there's always that awkward multi-class interaction, Lefty, when you kind of take a look up the inside and then make a late decision that you're not going to do it, and it makes everybody kind of uncomfortable there for a moment.
Yeah, and actually that's what Ken House-Seal needs, is for DJ to feel uncomfortable. That's about his only hope right now. And DJ didn't look uncomfortable. He just knew he was going to take that line. He was going to stay over there, and he was just going to assume that Shane was going to have to back out. It's a big assumption.
And this late in the race, you kind of have to make sure that you don't make the wrong assumption. And there goes Daggett down to the inside, puts DJ offline yet again. finally tucked back in, and now that's it for... Well, he's going to try to cross him back over for turn 3, but now look behind him. Here comes Greg Obadia in the 66.
Oh, he's going to roll a little wide. It's going to hurt DJ's exit speed. Here comes Obadia.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, if I'm DJ, I would just lean over right now. You got 2 Mercedes approaching you,
Yeah.
one the leader.
And Shane got such a bad exit that it let DJ get on back by, so this has really extended the amount of time that DJ is going to have to deal with these cars. And down into turn 5.
So Obadia deep on the brakes, and he's going to let the overall leader by.
Good brakes in that car, though.
Yeah, again, the ABS helps a lot. And Ken trying to capitalize on this, and he has done so. He's knocked the lead back down to about 4 seconds, but with 7 minutes and 50 seconds to go, he's going to need Shane to go in there and drive into the back of the 61, I think.
Yeah, he's going to need some help.
It's a possibility. Can't rule that out just yet.
I don't want to wish anything on anybody, but thanks for exciting racing.
Yeah, for sure, and we have seen the penalties kind of flying left and right. We've got 9 penalties or investigations that have happened tonight over the course of the 60 minutes. Of course, we saw penalties assessed to Paul Darling and to the 2 Alex Kurchek and some others for avoidable contact. And so
Kink is just insane at these speeds.
DJ pulling off to the right, he's going to let on by the 11 and just hoping and praying the 11 doesn't make another mistake and hold him up a little bit more. And he runs wide again.
It's holding him up.
Screaming.
Yep. I'm surprised those headlights haven't been flashing on the 61 just yet. But now he should be clear, and the 11 will pull away on the straight and set sail, hopefully. For DJ's sake.
Yeah, he's done about 3 seconds worth of damage to DJ's lead. He's now down to 3.3.
Yeah,
I mean, DJ and Ken Halseal.
And the 18 of Josh Kine now just pulled over for Halseal. And so Ken can see him now out the windshield. That little blue dot on the horizon is DJ Alessandrini. 6 minutes to go. It's about 3 laps worth of time. Ken's got time to get there, but he's going to need some more help, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Actually, there might be some more help there. You see 2 Mercedes in the background. They might catch them.
You know who those are? That's 2nd and 3rd in class. That's Daniel Richardson and Darren Treacle. And both these cars are fighting for position.
No,
This is a good battle.
I was going to say, that's the worst thing you can be in story traffic, have 2 faster cars battling, catching up to you. That's...
Yeah. So I don't think we're out of the woods just yet. Lex Kurchek was slow for a moment. I think he was just working down through turn 5. So Treacle all over Daniel Richardson, battle for 2nd. They got no chance of catching Obadia, so they're going to fight it out here. They're not going to hold back right now. And you see Treacle going to take a look up the inside down into turn 5 and back out of it. Doesn't have the braking power to do it.
Yeah, but you're right, though. In a mixed class race, to have one class battling like this for the second step of the podium and coming up on a class, there's no, hand-to-hand combat battle going on, it could make a bit of a mess because they're not gonna want to wait for the Porsche Cup car to get out of the way. They're gonna want to make their way through.
I tell you, these guys are racing hard, Finian. I mean, we're watching these guys Treacle up the inside again. The brake rotor is glowing on these big Mercedes.
They've been throwing it into, or Treacle, he's been throwing it to every corner, every chance he can get on Richardson.
Josh Kite now up the road and a little bit wide. He's towing the edge of the line there on the outside of the carousel. That's a dangerous place to be doing that, but Richardson and Treacle go on through.
Oh, they're definitely going to be catching Ken here in probably the next lap, maybe one more. So about the last lap, they have a shot of getting by them.
Oh boy. Getting down to the white flag here in just a couple minutes. Less than 5 minutes left. Richardson, Treacle still fighting for 2nd in class. For the lead in Porsche Cup, DJ Alessandrini has it by 3.5 seconds. And when he gets clear of traffic, DJ's been setting sail. But now the question is, will the approaching 2nd and 3rd place cars in GT3 pose a threat to DJ's race victory after leading almost every lap so far?
They can. I mean, if they're still battling by the time they get to him, and if one of them makes mistakes, takes out all 3 of them, you can easily change the lead.
And look at Treacle, a big run down the front straightaway. He'll have an easy look into turn 1. Can he get on the brakes deeper and longer than Richardson? He will. He'll have 2nd place. But past that one.
Yeah, just set him up all the way to get that pass just far enough ahead, and he got the good turn-in mark right across those curbs, able to get a nice exit, but Richardson's not going anywhere.
I don't think this fight is over just yet, especially once Treacle catches Ken Halseal and DJ Alessandrini. We've seen that those cars have not been the easiest to pass so far. So that could bring Richardson right back into this fight. 3 minutes.
Can we have race control to add 5 more minutes to this race? I really get DJ.
We got a BMW drag race down the front straight. Dave Fitzgerald and Louis Alessi. Fitzgerald, I think, just drove on by. And well, Louis Alessi might have something to say about this as well. I'm all right for adding another 5 minutes. Race 1 for the season was 72. We could have 72 in this one, too.
And I would like Stafford, too, after being in the wall and having to get that car fixed. He's up in 5th.
Yeah, this is a good rebound. Again, that collision outside of the kink damaged that car. Is able to get that thing repaired and back up into 5th spot. So as you said, a good recovery for the 719. It'll be a top 5 if he stays where he is. I'm just keeping an eye on this battle between Dave and Lewis. Also, where is Treacle? And you see Ken House-Seal up the road, and they will get to at least Ken House-Seal. And likely DJ Alessandrini. They will have 2 laps to go next time by. See Greg Obadia coming on through.
Yeah, they're running about 2 to 3 seconds a lap faster than these guys, and they're about 3 seconds behind, I think, behind where Ken is, and it's 3 more seconds to DJ. They may not catch DJ, but they're going to catch Ken. Or at least Treacle will.
2 laps to go for Greg Obadia. There's Darren Treacle, Daniel Richardson trying to close in on the car up the road, which is Ken House-Seal, number 23, Philadelphia region SCCA member. And he's coming. Yeah, he's not been able to close in on DJ Alessandrini again. They've been running fairly similar times, although DJ was 2 tenths to the good that time through. And the question is, they're definitely going to get to Ken. I don't think they're going to get to DJ, though. He might.
Like I said, we need that extra 5 minutes. Like 3 more laps, and I think we'd have it.
Minute and 46 seconds left for Greg Obadia. How about this race, Finian? He just, from the start of the race, set sail, even had a spin down into Canada corner because with some contact with Paul Darling, but he has just absolutely not flinched at the front of this field, even with that bit of a chaotic moment, and he has led majority of this race. He's led 21 of the 27 laps that we've completed so far.
And he's been at a fervent pace. He's, I think, starting to slow down just a little bit, just making sure he gets back home in one piece because he's got a 13-second lead back to Treacle.
Speaking of Treacle, closing in on Ken House-Seal in that number 23, the 2nd place car in Porsche Cup. And Daniel Richardson's fallen off of a mistake last lap. It's extended that gap between them to 5.6 seconds. That fight is essentially over for now, and now it's just going to be Treacle versus House-Seal. And I think House-Seal seeing his victory, his chances of victory slipping away very quickly as the white flag approaches.
Yeah, if you're Ken at this point, you might just move over and let Treacle right on by, knowing it's not going to help you. You're a lap away. DJ's not going to give up 3.5 seconds in the last lap, so.
We'll say that Treacle has gained a bunch of time on Greg Obadia. And that was a real awkward pass up the inside. And
what was I wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really awkward because Treacle slowed down on the straightaway. He let off the gas because he figured he was going to pass House-Seal and then try to pass him anyway down to Canada.
Yeah, it got very interesting there for a moment. But the reason why I wonder about this, Vinny, is when we last looked at Greg Obadia, he had some damage on that front bumper that I didn't see before.
He's had that for a while.
Has he? I mean, he didn't get it in the Paul Darling incident. I don't know where he got it from.
I don't know where he got it from either, but he's had it for like the last 5 or 6.
But it had. Oh, whoa, what? Whoa! Is he out of fuel? Is Greg Obadia out of fuel?
Oh no!
Out of fuel for the 66. He was slowing down to avoid running out of fuel, and he has not put enough in the tank. And after leading 22 laps, he is out of gas on the last lap. Lefty, a horrible ending for what it was a spectacular race for the 66.
You know what? I wonder if because I was looking at the time, he would have come across the line with I think 20 seconds left. Not even.
He should have lifted.
No, he didn't have enough time because Treacle was catching him.
Oh man!
So I think he scheduled it in a way where he could let off and then have one last lap to do. But it wasn't meant to be because Treacle caught up to him.
Well, that is not the ending that Greg Obadia wanted to see. He's going to lose a lot of spots here, Vinny. There's 10 drivers on this lead lap, so he's going to finish down in 10th or 11th, actually. So that car completely out of fuel, and the Mercedes drinking a little bit too much.
You wondered why his pit stop was 5 seconds faster than Richardson's. I have a feeling it's a fuel load difference.
Yeah, we spoke earlier wondering who wasn't going to make it between the two, or if someone took too much. It turns out it wasn't too much, it was too little for the leader.
So much Treacle took, because I don't think we really looked at him when he came on down.
Well, he's only got to make it another half a lap, but he took 24 seconds
Obadia took 22.5, so 2 seconds worth of gas is what cost Obadia this race.
So Darren Treacle, this entire race has led 1 lap. If he leads 2, it'll be the checkered flag, and see DJ Alessandrini up the road, and I don't think he's quite going to catch him. And DJ maybe just going to let on by the 70 here so he doesn't have to go another lap.
It almost like they made contact there.
These guys are just not willing to give up. There's another car that's a 456 of David Atkinson. We haven't talked about him all night long.
DJ wants to do another lap.
Apparently. most
guys wouldn't want that.
I was going to say, almost any other driver wouldn't want to do another lap. Let's see, drag race down the line.
Yeah. I don't know if he's going to have a choice here. I don't know if Treacle's going to lift and let him have the extra lap, or if he's going to try to beat him to the line. Checkered flag waves. Darren Treacle is going to have enough fuel to make it, and he will win the Washington, D.C. region SCCA iRacing League from Road America. And it looks like DJ Alessandrini has backed it down. And I think that is checkered flag for him as well. Ken House-Seal comes on through 2nd place for him. After all that, heard the engine stumbling there for the 23 as well. All right, Lefty, how about that? A little bit unsuspecting last lap there, but for Greg Obadia, sitting dead at the exit of turn 5, needed 2 more seconds of fuel to make it to the end.
Oh, that's so unfortunate because, as you were just saying, he had driven a nearly flawless race. You know, he had the one off in the grass, able to keep it going. Other than that, we really weren't talking about it much because he was just out there by himself, and you're kind of talking him up thinking, okay, this race is over, and he just runs out of fuel. It's so unfortunate.
Yeah, and again, you know, always when you take fuel, if you figure out exactly what, or if you have a fueling app, always take an extra lap, especially in a time race, because you never know when you make it. You have situations where you have to make it to the line, and if it's going to extend the race by another lap. And unfortunately for Obadia, went 1 lap too many that he couldn't account for.
Yeah, man. But he's still losing spots as we speak.
I was going to say, he's got to wait for everyone to come back, but it's unfortunate because if he just waited 2 more seconds on the fuel, he would have been completely fine.
But Darren Treacle, he put enough fuel in the tank, and his blue number 70 gets it done in Road America.
What happened to Richardson? Oh no, did Richardson run out of fuel?
I think Richardson also might have run out of fuel. We'll take a look at that here in just a moment.
Everyone's running out of gas.
His last lap was a 2:18.5, so that tells me that he was also out of fuel. But Treacle from 4th to 1st.
Oh, okay. I was wondering because I'm looking at Richardson. Cause remember, he was one of the first guys to pit 20 minutes into the race.
Yeah.
And I was wondering because he came in.
He took a 29-second stop, so he took a lot more fuel.
But he had to go 40 minutes on that. So I think
which is about the max that these cars can do.
So I think he came in too early, and that's why he ran out of fuel.
So your finishing order scrolling across the top of your screen. Of course, Darren Treacle gets it done. DJ Alessandrini, dominant performance in the Porsche Cup category. House-Seal, if he hadn't made that mistake on the opening lap, might have had something to say about it, at least more so than he did. I actually wonder, I mean, I think Ken was a little bit faster over the course of the race. I know DJ's got a better lap time overall in terms of best lap, but I think Ken over the course of the race was a 10th quicker here, a 10th quicker there. I think it was just the initial start that really cost him all that time.
Definitely. It's unfortunate, you know, to go into that turn 5 on the first lap and just locking up the tires and getting it slid out of there. You've got to really keep your race together, let the car come to you, let it all warm up, and unfortunately he didn't and had to spend the rest of the race trying to chase down the field and chase down DJ and just not enough time to do it.
And Darren Treacle had enough fuel to do an entire cooldown lap as well. So they also think I wonder how much is too much. but I guess there's no such thing as too much when you're out of fuel. I think the 66 would have liked to borrow something.
Better to overfuel and make it to the end than completely running dry.
Yeah, that was always my philosophy. Is I don't want everyone running out of gas is the most embarrassing thing ever. You don't want to do that.
Dave.
But Dave said, hey, Dave put enough fuel in the car to finish. Dave got a top 5 out of all that.
Yeah.
Finally.
Look what happens.
He's learning.
Look what happens when you finish with the tank.
So your results scrolling across the screen one more time. We're going to jump to break for just a couple minutes. We're going to talk to Treacle and more here, and we'll also talk to Obadia if he's willing to. I know it's a frustrating end of the race. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back live to Sim TV in the Washington, D.C. region SCCA iRacing League. We're here now with second place finisher in Porsche Cup, Ken House-Seal, the number 23. Ken, the night started off with a spin down in turn 5, trying to get by DJ Alessandrini. You were trying to chase him back down, but traffic played a role. Couldn't quite get back to DJ. What'd you need to go? Got to beat that 61 car tonight.
Well, it would have been great to not have the mistake on the first lap. That was pretty silly. Just got a little too deep on the brakes, and it was like, well, I can try to avoid all the incidents, and managed to do that. So thankfully, I didn't take anybody out. And then yeah, traffic was intense. There was lots of stuff going on there. DJ and I both had to deal with a lot of, I'll say, I don't want to say silliness, but inexperience, I guess, with some of the GT3 cars not being aggressive enough on the brakes to pass us. So it was really difficult.
Again, the long straightaways here really let both these classes of cars get wound up. How much did drafting with the GT3 cars help? And I know you were trying to draft with some of those the slower GT3 cars. And did it hurt you more than it helped you to be following them?
In certain places on the track, like the carousel, it definitely hurt. Took some aero off the front end and got some wicked aero push. But other places, like obviously the straights, it was a huge help. So try to time when they pass and let them pull you down the next straight to make up for anything that happened on the brakes.
Given a couple more laps, do you think you could have caught DJ? I know there was, for the majority of the race, you were a couple tenths quicker here, a couple tenths quicker there, but it seemed like you were losing a lot of time with those lappers. So you feel like you could have caught DJ eventually?
Maybe if we had 15 more minutes, but I don't know. DJ obviously ran a really good pace, and because he wasn't under extreme pressure, he didn't have to take any crazy risks or anything. And there was a couple times I made mistakes just pushing really hard to try and catch. So I'll say DJ probably had me covered, but who knows? It would have been nice to try.
Ken House-Seal, second place tonight in Porsche Cup. Ken, thanks for talking. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Moving on now to DJ Alessandrini, who got it done tonight in Porsche Cup. DJ, from the very start of the race, Ken House-Seal was challenging you down into turn 5. He slipped and let you kind of drive away for a little bit, but I think there was some tense moments with traffic. Walk us through your night and try to keep Ken, Paul, and Christopher behind you for that whole evening.
Yeah, I knew Ken was going to be pushing hard to come get me, and basically I had a targeted lap time, and I was just trying to hit those, and I knew it was going to be super tough for Ken to get me, but then the traffic made it interesting. When somebody's in the faster car, but they can't keep the thing on track in front of you, you tend to leave a little bit of an escape route going into every corner, which turns out is not very fast. So I was very thankful when those faster cars finally got away from me, and I could just drive my race and hit my marks. Because when the person in front of you goes off track every other corner, it's pretty terrifying.
Tonight, the multi-class interaction, we saw Ken House-Seal have to deal with it a little bit, but how much did it hurt you to follow the GT3s in the corners, and did it help you at all on the straightaways?
So if they looked predictable and like they had it together, the draft was actually real helpful, and they broke later than me. So I just roll a lot of speed through the corner and get draft down the next straight, and it could actually improve my lap time. But the individuals I'm talking about where they can't keep it on the track, it makes it very, very tough. And then when they're next to you in a corner, you tend to just let them go because you don't trust that they're going to keep the car together. And especially when you have a gap to the guy behind you, you just tend to just come over the mic and say, "Go, man, just go away, please."
All right, DJ Alessandrini gets it done here at Road America. DJ, congratulations. I know it wasn't necessarily the smoothest race ever, but you got it done either way. You won the race. We'll see you next week, and congrats.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll let Lefty take a look at and talk to Dennis Bear here in the 83, who came home second. Lefty, take it away.
Hey, Dennis, kind of a quiet race for a while, and due to it looks like some fuel management issues in front of you, you end up in second spot. Walk me through a little bit of managing your way through that race to come home in second.
I have no idea how that happened. I just kept driving, and I ran out of fuel the last endurance race, so I just took all of the fuel as much as I could to play it safe, and I just kept driving. It felt like a time attack. I was out there by myself just turning laps.
So how does that car handle tires? Because it seemed like I've driven them before. I thought they chew them up a little bit. What was your thought on how well the car stays under you for those 15 lap segments?
Honestly, the tires felt great. The first 4 laps are, of course, for flyers, and then I I could run within a second of my fastest lap after lap. I didn't take tires at all on my pit stop. I just took fuel. So I ran the same tires the entire 60.
Wow, that's impressive. So the other thing I was going to ask you, though, is about coming up on the Porsche Cup cars, is they are not as fast specifically through the corners as well, I should say the class of AMGs is the GT3s. Where were you trying to pick a spot to try and go by one of those other cars? Is it easy to find a spot?
Yeah, Road America is excellent, like for passing. There's so many big long straights. You could just kind of hang out in the corner and just wait if you're patient. If you're not trying to like really attack a corner, you could just kind of just manage the traffic and then get by safely on the straightaway. So it was easy for me. I wasn't really trying to go after first super hard because I didn't think it was reachable, but it was a fun, clean race.
Yeah, awesome job. And it looks like the strategy is keep your nose clean, put enough fuel in the car, and see what happens, eh?
Heck yeah, that's all it takes sometimes.
Nice job, Dennis.
Thanks.
Talk now with the driver, the number 66. It just ran a little bit short on fuel there at the end. Greg, just walk us through your night. I know you led 22 laps, just didn't quite put enough in the tank. How close? Did you know you were going to be close, and was that a surprise to you when you ran out of fuel?
Oh my goodness. What did I do? I listened to other people. Actually, I would have underfueled it, and then I was told to put at least 30 gallons worth, and that should make it. And I was like, okay. And man, what a race. It was so easy. Well, not easy. I was like so stiff. And then I stiffened up even more towards the end. And then I started doing calculations and trying to figure out how much time was left. And I don't know how to get to the screens and where it is on the screens. And then I realized I was in trouble and it was too late. And then I tried to slow roll that last lap and I missed it by a second, but I think it was going on the flag rather than time. And that's it. I hope I didn't mess anybody up.
I know, obviously, a disappointing end of the night after leading the majority of the race, but we have another one of these GT3 and Porsche Cup rounds. So did you learn anything here that you can apply, other than putting more fuel in the car, that you can apply at the next round with these GT3 cars?
So I think the faster guys might have taken themselves out right there on the first lap under braking. And you know what? I think the tires will last. So I think that's what I learned. I mean, if it's an hour, you can, although I was taking kind of easy on the tires, you can push on them and they will run. No need to change tires.
Greg, it's going to be a 10th place tonight. Didn't show how good you were. Led the majority of the race, but come home a little bit short, Greg. Unfortunate circumstances, but good luck in the next round. We'll see you later.
Thanks. You guys are awesome.
Appreciate it. All right, I think we'll let, it was Darren Trickle not around. I don't think we've been able to grab him. Unfortunately, I was going to have Lefty talk to him, but we have not been able to get in contact with Darren Treacle. But Lefty, walk us through. I mean, this race was spectacular from start to finish, but what were your favorite parts of that? And how excited are you for the next round of this GT3 and Porsche Cup battle?
Well, I was excited to watch the end kind of on what we thought was going to be unfolding with the battle of second and third in the GT3s, catching up to the battles of first and second in the Porsche Cups. That didn't happen, but it turns out a whole different thing did with the whole fuel scenario that nobody saw coming. Well, I think I have a feeling that Greg knew that was coming, but the rest of us didn't know until all of a sudden there's cars stopping on the track. Super exciting. Interesting mix of these two cars, because the two classes, because they are just close enough but just not enough that it makes it interesting to try and find places by. And I love watching that kind of mixed fields with talented drivers in both classes. It was a great race to watch.
Certainly a fun race. That's going to do it for us tonight. But next week, we're going to be taking on Virginia International Raceway, kind of a homecoming for this group. It'll be next Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. at VIR. Then it'll be Laguna Seca the following week. Then the week after that, Silverstone will be where we take the GT3 cars out for another spin. It'll be the old Silverstone. And then Road Atlanta will be the season finale on the 18th of December. So 4 more weeks, the halfway point of the season. Finian, your thoughts as we head into VIR, one of the most technical and tricky and most challenging tracks on the schedule.
Yeah, it's a fairly interesting race, especially strategy-wise, and at the end there, seeing several of the GT3 leaders run out of gas was definitely not something I don't think any of us expected, so interesting to see Treacle taking out the very end after Obadia dominated. Unfortunately, to not see him get the win, though.
Sun sets on another round of the DC Region SCCA iRacing League. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Kyle Heyer, joined by Finian DeCuna and Larry Lefty McLeod. We'll see you next time at VIR. Have a great night.